Hi guys, my name is Mo and this is The Hiatus. On today's segment, I will be delving into the concept of religion. I will have my discussion centered around Christianity because I am a Christian and I wouldn't want to speak about anything else and end up saying the wrong thing. I will begin by defining what religion is, and I will speak about its generic importance in society. Then I will move on to speak about its negative impact on society and its impact on how patriarchy is seen today. And then I will go on to discuss the origins of Christianity and how it is practiced in South Africa today. And then I will then go into how we should reconsider our views on Indigenous beliefs in our mission to be civilized. And then at the end, I will just speak about how religion is important to me and how just believing in a higher power is important in my own life. Let's get it. What is religion? According to Stewart and Zaaiman, religion is a feature of all societies, whether past or present. The word religion comes from the Latin religio, which means fear of the supernatural. Other scholars have argued that it actually stems from religare, which is also a Latin word which means to bind together. Religion is a concept as old as time, and it has been understood as being the chief source of societal cohesion or social cohesion, and constitutes the glue which holds society together. Even in a modern society, the vast majority lay claim to being a member of one or some other faith community, and religion serves the purpose of binding communities together. I just believe that religion is important because it helps us just have these shared norms and values, like for instance, if you're a religious person or just a person in general, you know that you have to be kind, you have to not judge people, you don't have to gossip, even though those are actually hard things to not do. But because of religion, you just feel so bad when you actually do the opposite, if you're not kind, all that. Obviously not everyone, obviously, but it happens. So it is responsible for those shared values that you can't do this because you're scared of this, right? It's just like the whole act of or idea around consequences. So religion is responsible for that, amongst other things. Moreover, I just feel like religion, just believing in a higher power is good because you don't feel so alone in the world, because we don't have control over a lot of things. So just letting it all be up to someone, a god or a higher power, you're just like, oh, okay, I'm not in control of this, but God's in control, So, and things like karma, you believe that God is going to take it into his own hands to punish those who hurt you or whatever. So I think it's important for that reason. The negative side of religion. So religion is not all too righteous because it has a negative impact on society as well. According to Stewart and Zaaiman, religion has been the cause of conflict and wars through age and has influence on global politics today. Think of the likes of laws on abortion. Think of how women are not... There's like just these biases around women being in power because of religion, because men are always in the forefront. There's also how it influences the way courts are ran. Just think about how when you're about to be a witness to something, you have to put your hands on the Bible or solemnly pledge that you will tell the truth. It has influence. In addition to this, Marx thought that religion was the opium of the people. Opium or opioids is a drug that is produced by a poppy flower, and Marx was alluding to religion as the opium because of its ability to keep people complacent with their life circumstances. Do you ever think of how the working class is always so religious? That is because religion keeps them going. You know that you're impoverished, but because there's a God and you're working for your afterlife, you become complacent in that poverty, or you leave it up to your religious leaders or your politicians to actually run the country instead of having an active role in how your country is ran. You become complacent, basically. That's what I'm saying. And that is why there is a constant debate on how a greater power would allow his people to suffer. And people are always drawn between two lines of either atheists or agnostics and people who are religious. How some will say, oh no, God is preparing you for a bigger battle or greater things, or that religion is about the afterlife and not your physical life, and then there's a side that's like, well, it's because he doesn't exist, so there is no greater power. The gender gap in religion around the world. I tend to be offended of the narratives about women in the Bible. If it is not about Eve or Delilah or notions around virginity and submission, or how women should be silent in churches for they are not permitted to speak but should be in submission as the law also says. If there is anything they desire to learn, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is shameful for women to speak in church. In general, women have always had to take the back seat when it comes to things like religion. And you can even see it in how the most influential people in the Bible or any other religion happen to be men, like how we know about Matthew, we know about Jesus, we know about David, and how in Islam they know about Muhammad. It's always men. And the way religion has happened to portray women also influences the biases around how women are allowed to engage with each other, or how they have these internalized forms of sexism and misogyny, and they don't believe in each other, or that the other woman has the power to be a leader or anything like that. And this has, of course, made it very difficult for the feminist movement to reach a level of equality, all because of these internalized self-hate. What is Christianity? So Christianity is the most practiced religion in the whole world. And because of this, I will assume that then religion is a European concept, or it started in Europe, right? Because most parts of the world that do actually practice Christianity as their religion happen to be countries that have undergone a severe level of imperialism that has had a big impact on their culture. But Christianity is a story or a narrative that addresses the historical figure of Jesus Christ against the backdrop of and while seeking to remain faithful to the experience of one God. One of the most salient elements of faith tradition of Christianity, with rare exceptions, is a plan for salvation and redemption. So the believers basically find themselves in a situation where they constantly seek salvation from their God. And the agent of redemption in this instance, or this narrative, is Jesus Christ, whom is the physical manifestation of God himself, and you can only get to God by believing in him and his power. The most famous symbols in Christianity happen to be the Holy Trinity, which is basically, it means the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which is a cross, and figures like Mary and Lamb and all that. But there's many other symbols, and if you know of any, please just write them in the comment section down below so we can engage with each other. Religion in South Africa. The story of Euro imperialism is very long and draining. However, it is the reason as to why we are where we are today. About 400 years of slavery and colonialism and a scramble for Africa. And in that scramble, various ways on how to take over. And now we're here. So here's an interesting fact if you did not know. So the route or airline route from Cape to Cairo is actually built around the various colonies of the British powers from Africa all the way to Cairo. Interesting, but very tragic. So amongst the many weird reasons as to why the Europeans had to colonize the rest of the world are the fact that the rest of the world was either savage or uncivilized according to their own standards. So obviously they had to go in and civilize them, aka take all their resources. They did this by using measures such as religion or Christianity in this sense, and they did this through the use of missionary schools. And of course someone out there is saying, oh well, if they did not colonize Africa, then you guys would not be educated. Well, every society has its way of passing down knowledge from one generation to the next generation, and that is education, is it not? People were surviving before colonization ever happened. They did not need formats to be the way it is today. I mean, the Egyptians managed to tell time, have calendars, build pyramids, all before imperialism. And you mean to tell me that there was no education? There was definitely education. I fail to understand how people think that people were surviving before they came around and saved him. And it's something that is very fascinating to me. I just always wonder how the world would have panned out if they hadn't colonized it. I mean, we had our own indigenous beliefs. So to take us into the next topic, indigenous beliefs. According to Stewart and Zaaiman, religion and the performance of various rituals was a prominent feature of the earliest communities in Southern Africa. The first indigenous people of South Africa are the San and the Khoikhoi. And this point of departure is also a discussion I would like to really have about tribalism and how it might not have been something that was started by people who colonized us, but obviously it's a thing that has existed way before that. I mean, thinking that you're superior to the other person is a common thing. It happens. So I'd like to have a discussion around tribalism in South Africa. The San had a deep awareness of the supernatural realm consisting of gods and evil spirits. As the indigenous beliefs of Southern people are actually monotheistic, right? Are polytheistic, meaning that they believe in more than one higher power. The San believed in Utiko or Tikwa, I think, who lives in the sky and sends rain for crops, and there are various other spiritual figures in this instance. My opinion on indigenous belief is that it should be revived, because I would really like to know my ancestry. I would really like to know what it is that makes me African. If you think that you are not supposed to believe in your ancestors, I think you're wrong, but obviously that's my opinion. Because before our culture was whitewashed, we actually had our own ancestors and beliefs. You know, the mission of civilization, the mission of civilization was actually to make us believe that our culture was inferior. And by you just believing that your ancestors are demons or whatever, you're actually accepting that whitewashed culture. Interesting. I would genuinely like to learn more about what it means to be African. I mean, if it were for me, I'd be here speaking in my own language, but obviously, first of all, people would not understand me, or people would think of me as inferior because why are you not speaking English? You know? And obviously, I can attest the reason of me not speaking my own language to the fact that I'm actually not able to speak my language fully. I'm not able to express myself in my own language. How sad is that? You know, we've undergone this transformation from birth where you start off at home speaking your own language, and then you go to school and you're taught not to speak your language. You have to learn how to speak English. You have to articulate properly. You have to become white. I'm joking. But isn't that sad? The fact that we have to assimilate to a culture that is not even ours. How sad is that? Lastly, I will speak about what religion means to me. So obviously, I am a Christian, as I said at the beginning of the video, but I would genuinely like to learn more about my ancestry and just our own traditions. I don't know if you guys know, but I am Bedi. My dad is Bedi, my mom is Xhosa. Weird combo, but it is what it is. I go to the Eastern Cape and they do all these things and they're very fascinating to me. When I grow up and I have my own children, I would genuinely like for them to actually know more about their culture. So, so to speak, I actually want to learn more about that. I want to learn more about what it means to be a Xhosa woman, what it means to be a Bedi woman. I just want to learn more. Even though my dad's side of the family is not really that into tradition and all that, I'd really like to learn about it, because at the end of the day, all these other things, or let's say Christianity in this instance, is not in our genes, you know. That's why we are very different. That's why we have Izangoma and all that. That is because that is in our ancestry. you know. So I'd really like to learn about that. But in terms of Christianity, I do really believe that it is important to believe in a higher power, whether it's your ancestors or God. And I just like to build my relationship with God, because even though I am mad at the fact that it came through, you know, the means of missionary schools, I'm not mad at it, you know. I feel like God has kept me hopeful this long and has done wonders for my own life, so I wouldn't discard it that easily. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you liked it. Give it a big thumbs up and just give me points on how I would improve or what you guys would like me to talk about next.